Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to get into that painting video I was promising a little bit. I'm just going to go over some of the things that you need to be aware of and to look at in this. And you know, I am not a professional painter. I don't claim to be one. I get pretty good results. I'm sure that if I was more trained or knew more, I'd get better results. But usually I get it done, and it's satisfactory to me. And so I just want to kind of show you what I do, and with that disclaimer, I'm not a pro at it, just like I'm not a pro at any of this motorcycle repair or anything like that. You just you pick up a lot of stuff over a lot of years. Yeah, I'm old. But, I do okay. And, the thing that these paint, for instance, if you had Omni or DuPont or whatever, if that was the manufacturer's paint you were using, they'll always tell you to say, you've got to use every component from their system. And, ideally, I bet that's probably right, and you'd probably get better results. But I use what I have, and, normally I have to go get paint mixed or something like that, or if I can find a factory pack that I can work with, then I just buy it there. Like I use Summit Racing a lot of times for most of my components these days. But really, as long as you stay with a urethane or an enamel, you're good to go with the components. It doesn't matter if they come from Summit or from DuPont or from Martin Senior or whatever. If they're for a urethane system, they're more likely going to work okay. That's been my experience, and I've mixed a lot of them, and I'm sure that there's some painters out there that disagree with, but this is my experience, and you'll just go broke if you buy all that stuff from one manufacturer, especially if you've got some sitting in your garage already, and it's perfectly fine. Maybe 10 years old, but it works. And I use a lot of 10-year-old stuff, or maybe older. You just keep it packed up good, sealed up, and it works fine for you. But the number one thing you need to do is make sure you have a data sheet for whatever components you are using. Let me show you. Okay, these are what I'm going to use on the 125 MX gas tank. I'm going to use the primer sealer from Summit, and it tells you how to mix it, how long to wait between coats, how long to wait before you tape it. Anything that you need to know is on that sheet. So that's good to have. I mean, it's imperative that you have it. And then I'm going to use an Omni, which is a PPG product, for my base coat. And it's going to be an MBC, which is everything that I'm using for that is urethane. And this is the base coat. And again, it's going to show all the wait times, your gun setup, your dry times, recoat times, and what compatible products there are. And then when it's all said and done, I'm going to use, I was painting cars for a while, and this is just leftover stuff. This is the custom shop. I used to get this from I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's TCP Global out of San Diego, And I mean, I bought a bunch of clear, and I've still got a bunch of it, and I use it, and I have not had any problems with it. So that is the lineup for that. And of course, the base coat. This also includes the silver that goes under the red base coat. For the candy colors, you've got to have a silver in order to make that pop right, or silver for these bikes. That's what Yamaha used under theirs. So I'll have the silver, which will be one, and the other one is the red, and they're both MBC urethanes. So everything I'm going to use for that is right there. Now, right now, I'm getting ready to use the, I'm going to paint the fender and the side cover for the Suzuki, and I'm going to use Summit Racing's silver paint. And it is a single stage, otherwise there's not going to be any clear. Clear's made in it. And that's what I painted the gas tank and the other, I think the rear fender with. So the only parts I've got left are the front fender and the side cover. So I'm going to use the same paint, and it's single stage, like I said. And again, it's going to tell you all the particulars that you need to know about that. And with that, I'm going to use their primer sealer, just like I am with the gas tank. So these two with the fender and the side cover, and these three with the gas tank. Just depending on what you're doing. Like I say, we're eliminating the clear here because the clear is made into the paint. Just a word about holding your, whatever you're painting. I had one person ask me how I was holding the tank, and I think you can see it in where I show the paint job on the green tank, but it's just like I've got it here. She asked if it was foam. You could certainly use foam. I didn't even think of that. The only thing with foam is it might, the paint products may melt it. When you shoot, you want to shoot a little bit of the paint up in here so that, you know, you still see the base color in here. You know, you don't want to see white or something if you got a black tank or whatever. But that's all I'm doing, is I've just got a little thing here so it can set on it. Let me see if I can pull this up just a little bit. Okay, so in my case, I can still just bring it straight up. And that's all I've done, is I've just made these blocks here. This one here's a little shorter. It was for a Suzuki I did. I'm just basing everything off of these points here. And the Yamaha needed a little wider one. And this keeps it from sliding off. And at the same time, on the back, I've got a screw there to keep it from coming off. So I can manipulate this pretty good without having to worry about it coming off. But you know, the foam would probably be a good idea if you could get it back far enough where the products you're spraying aren't going to maybe melt it. But this works pretty good for me. You know, it's just whatever you can make work. Here's the one that I painted the green tank on, and now I've converted it to hold my front fender for the Suzuki I'm going to do. And I'm not worried about whether this has got a little bit of a round area around it when I'm done painting. You know, this little area will not have paint on it. And that's okay, because it's just going to get bolted up underneath the triple tree. You're not going to see it anyway. So it's just, for the most part, you just want to make sure it's held good enough that the gun pressure is not going to blow it around or off or whatever. If you remember right, this is the item here that I used to hold the oil tank on the green bike, and now it's holding the side cover for the Suzuki. And it's it's pretty secure. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but it's you just got to work with what you got. And I just use some plywood or OSB or something to build a platform that has a big enough footprint where it's not going to blow over from the pressure of the gun. So I had a couple questions about that, and I just thought I would go over that and show you what I do. But it's what you do. It's just be creative, and you just got to hold it. That's all you got to do. Oh, I forgot to cover the holding the one for the headlight ears. That's all I did. And this one would blow over, so I've got a screw in it right here, and I just screw it into the top of my table. And put it out here on the edge so that I can have good access to it. But there again, you're just trying to hold it, and you just need to think about, while you're painting this, is it going to give me complete access? And you're probably never going to be 100% complete. I noticed on a couple spots on the green bike that I just did that I was a little, I guess the film thickness maybe just wasn't quite as good in some places. And it's because I just didn't have good access, even though I really tried to get up and under and all that stuff. But, you just need to figure out what's going to work for you, that's going to give you the best access and hold your part. Now over here to the bench where I've been kind of mixing everything up, I moved everything out of the way. This is all the gas tank stuff that I'm going to use here. The clear, 2K speed urethane clear, and all the components that I'm going to use for that. And all these, like I say, are Omni products. Oops, I just see that this one is MBP, so I need to look up that one. I've got it too. Okay, so I've got only the things that I'm going to use for the part of the project that I have at hand right now, which is the fender and the side cover. So I've got the sealer, I've got their two-part. So I've got my sealer and my hardener for that. And then I've got the silver, single stage silver, and the urethane activator for that one. I've got my filters, and I've got the wax and grease remover, and I've already used that on those parts, so we're done with that. And the other thing that you want to make sure you get are some mixing cups. I believe this one is mixed 4 to 1, I think. I'll have to look, but we'll just if you're 4 to 1, you use one of these cups. You go to the 4 to 1 scale, and you're going to pour in 4, however much you think you're going to need of this, and then you go over to the one side, and if you did a 4 over here, you do a 4 here, and that gives you your 4 to 1. So we'll be doing this here in just a minute. Okay, we were over here a little bit earlier, and I was talking about how to hold your parts, and that is entirely up to you, however you can get it done. This is how I'm doing it. I've already gone over these with the wax and grease remover, and so they should be in good shape. Now, something a little different on these, since this is plastic. This is plastic and that's plastic. I'm gonna use a plastic adhesion promoter. You spray this on, 1 coat is plenty, and that helps it adhere to the plastic. So these fenders are, this is a used fender that I got from eBay, and it's, I don't know, probably not the best in shape, but it's going to work for this bike. You just can't find them, so I've had to do a little filling, and you know, it's not going to be a perfect fender, but it's the best that I can come up with. I think I ended up paying about $35 for that. These things, if you can find them NOS, are $300-400, and you can buy them from overseas, new one. They look a little bit different, and you know, they're still almost $100 by the time you get them. So do the best you can on your parts. But that's what I was going to tell you about, is we're going to spray the plastic adhesion promoter on these two parts before we do any of the process that I was talking about earlier. So this is all done. The next thing that we'll need to do just before we shoot it will be tack it. Okay, a couple of things here before we get started. You need to make sure that you've got a good respirator. You need to have the organic vapors. Now, I just buy these disposable ones. I've been getting them off of eBay. I don't know whether they still have them on there or not, but you know, it just has been my experience that once you get one, then it's hard to find new filters for them when you need them. So I don't know. I think I was given like $35 or $40 for these, and you know, you just throw the whole thing away. And when you get ready to, when you know, after you're done, really, if you're doing like a car, I usually keep them around a little while with the bike stuff, because they're just, you're not painting that much. And another thing for you that wear glasses, the one thing that's going to happen, especially if you have plastic lenses, I don't know why, but the overspray will collect on the inside more so than the outside. And in order to, well, you're not going to prevent it unless you wear goggles or something, and that is just not, it doesn't work for me. So what I do is I get a pair of glasses made that are glass. So if when the overspray gets on there, when I'm done, I take acetone and I clean them up. And that way I don't have to worry about anything getting melted on my regular glasses. Now, my regular ones are plastic, and I have in the past used acetone to remove paint from them. I can't guarantee that every plastic is the same, but I've always been successful, and acetone doesn't melt them. But that's just me. But if you do a lot of it, I would recommend just picking up, you know, when you get your glasses, have a set made that are of glass, and just use them for that. And that's what I do. And of course, you want to use your gloves so that when you touch these parts, you're not leaving your greasy footprints, your greasy fingerprints all over them. And of course, your gun. And you know, I've had people ask me what gun I use, and you know, this is one of my. I used to use this one for primers, but it's really kind of one of my all-to go-to for anything. And with these motorcycle tanks and stuff, I just use one gun. I spray the primer sealer, then I clean it, and then I come back and I put everything on there and clean in between each different component. But this is a DeVelvis finish line. Not even sure if they're made anymore, but I've always liked this gun, and it's worked good for me. I've got several DeVelvis guns, but I really don't want to mess with them. I used to paint a lot of cars, and that's what I used. I had one for primer, one for my base coat, and one for my clear, and a small one for doing like door jambs and stuff. But anyhow, I've heard a lot of people say that the Harbor Freight gun is a very good gun. I don't know, but a lot of people say that it's just as good as some of the high dollar guns. So you might try it. And then of course your air supply. You know, I use a lot of air for a lot of different things, from plasma cutters and welders and air tools, grinders, all that kind of stuff, and the paint. So I use a lot, so I need a pretty big machine. But you just need one big enough to get the job done. And I'll leave that up to you to determine how big. And enough hose. I've got mine reeled from the top so I can kind of get the stuff out of my hair. But the other thing that you need to think about is ventilating your area. Now I'm going to shut the door down, and right here, I've had a couple people ask me about this. This is my fan, and it goes out here. So when I turn it on, if I can open it, it opens up and it pulls all the fumes out. What I've got here is furnace filters so that it collects most of the paint on the filters so it can't go out here and get on my cars or whatever. You know, so that's what that is. And I've just got it switched here on the wall. So that's my ventilation. And being right here next to it, like I said, I'll close the door down. And then I've got a window here in the back. I'll shut all the other doors and everything. And all my air will come in here. Now, when I was doing cars, I used another hole that I've got made just for that. And I put a furnace filter in it also to close, you know, to make it so I didn't bring a lot of stuff in. But this just seems to work okay for me. I don't have a lot of problems. So I just have to remember to shut this door so I can get the full draw. And then, of course, the big door too. And I just, I've got a brand new filter here that I haven't even used yet. You know, so if I feel like I'm not filtering out, then I've got a new one. You just want to make sure that you adjust your straps tight around your neck and your face so that you get a good seal. If you're smelling any of what you're spraying, you don't have a good seal, or you don't have a mask that's capable of doing the job. Okay, on the primer sealer, we are mixing 5 parts sealer to 1 part hardener. So that's what we'll be doing on our mixing cup. And I don't have a lot of stuff down there to paint, so I don't need to mix up very much. But we'll use 5 parts. So I'm probably going to go to the 1 and then go to the 1 right here. And that should, I think, give us enough for the 2 plastic pieces that we're going to do. You just don't need to do any more than you need. And this is only 1 coat. That's all we want. You don't want a bunch of wet coats on there. So let me get that mixed and I'll bring you back. Okay, now remember to use a separate stick for all your different components. You don't want to mix them. And if you've got any hardeners, never put one that you've used with hardener back into a product that has not a hardener that you're not going to use, because it will harden it up. It may take a little while, but it will harden it up, and you don't want that. You're just wasting your product. So I had a fresh stick here. This is just the plain sealer, mixing it up good. And then get me a little paper towel here so I can be sloppy, but not too much. You're going to pour that in. Okay. That's to my one, or that's 5, which is on the 1 scale. 5 scale up here, the 5 to 1, and then I'm at 1 on the scale at the bottom. Now I'm going to take the hardener and I'm going to go to 1 on the next scale. Okay. Now I'm going to stir this, and when I'm done, I'm going to throw this stick away because it'll have hardener on it. Okay, so this mixing cup is catalyzed. That's what they call it when it's had the hardener put into it. So at this point, at 70 degrees, it's telling me I've got 1 hour, my pot life. So I have to use this within an hour. And we're going to do that. I'm going to move all this stuff here that I just mixed up, because hopefully we're not going to need that again for this project. And we'll go ahead and get this in the gun. The only thing I need to do is go down there and spray the plastic promoter first, and then we'll go ahead and get the gun set up. Now, one thing you might say, it's not so on this one, but you've already put primer on here, and a lot of times, like with the gas tank over here, that's true. That's a regular lacquer type primer. Most of it ends up on the ground because you sand it with you sand it with wet and dry sandpaper, so it ends up on the floor. So it's kind of a cheap stuff, but you want to be very careful when you start putting this kind of primer, which is also a sealer, on it, because if you put it on too wet or too many coats, it will lift it. Now, this one doesn't have any primer on it like that. There's a few little places where it's left over, but the main part, the main reason for the sealer is to prevent bleed through of your body repairs. Otherwise, I've got a little Bondo here. So, and with a lot of paints, if you don't put a sealer on, you'll end up with that bleeding back through to your paint. So it just looks terrible, and it messes up your whole job. So don't skimp on your sealer. And I have done it before, and even with the sealer, I've had bleed back or bleed through. So you just have to be careful. I'm shaking up the plastic adhesion promoter real good here, and I'm going to give that a shot here in a minute. Just one coat. So we're just going to go ahead and load our gun. And you want to make sure to use a filter. Okay, we've got the one coat on, that's all we need. And it tells us to wait until it's hand slick or 10 to 30 minutes. That's about what that is. And hand slick, they just, find a place that's kind of inconspicuous and just rub it lightly. And if it feels sticky, it's not ready yet. But if you can, hand slick. So if it slides pretty easy without sticking, then you're ready to go ahead and start putting your top coat on. Okay, while we're waiting on that to dry, we're going to start mixing up our silver paint. And this one is mixed 4 parts of the paint to 1 part of the hardener. And it tells you that if you need a little help with the flow out, then you can add up to 10% of your fast, medium, or slow reducer, depending on how the temperature. And we're between 70 and 80 degrees here today. I don't think I'm going to need any. If after the first coat, if it looks like I do, then I'll come back and add some. But we'll go ahead and mix that up. And it tells us when we get ready to apply it, we can apply 2 to 3 medium wet coats and allow 5 to 10 minutes flash between each coat. So you want to pay particular attention to that so you don't get back into it too quick and end up with a run. So let me get this set up and we'll start mixing it. Okay, we've got that mixed up and we'll go ahead and load it into the gun. Okay, we're just going to let that cure out till till whenever I get ready to put it on, I guess. And side cover, same way. There's trash in it. I mean, that's just the way it is. This type of, with a garage paint job. Just not perfect, but you just have to either accept it or pay the price and have it done professionally. And I just can't afford it for my own stuff, and most of the people that I work for, they can't afford that much put onto their bill either. It's you get what you pay for, and you're getting a rookie here. So, but I just wanted to go over and let everybody, give you what I do. And it's certainly not right all the time, and it's can be improved on. But this is how I do it, and I just, if you want something perfect, you're gonna have to pay somebody. I'd say for a tank and both fenders and headlight ears and oil tank, you're probably looking at over $1,000 these days if you can get them to bother to do it. It's just people don't want to do little jobs like that because there's not a lot in it. That's I found out early on when I started working on cars and later on bikes, that if I wanted paint done, I was going to have to learn how to do it myself, because even though it may not be the greatest job and I may have a lot of issues, runs or wrinkles or lamination or whatever it may be, you learn about it and figure out how to prevent it. Okay, getting ready to start on the MX tank, and I've got another set of headlight ears here that I really hadn't planned on, but what I guess I had was a set of 125 headlight ears that I did for the green bike. I'm almost certain they were, and they are a little different because the size of the headlight bucket. And I want to take you out and I would just show you the difficult that I'm having. Okay, you see where they're kind of sticking out. That's because this, I believe, is a 6-inch bucket, and the 12-volt one used on the 125 AT1 is a 5 or a 5.5. So the location of these are different. So I've got to do some for a 175s for this size bucket. Give you another shot of that bike out here in the more natural light. Anyhow, there's nothing different about what I'm doing here today, or right now anyway, for the prep on this. I'm still mixing the same primer sealer at 5-to-1, and then we'll come back, shoot the silver on both of them, and then I'll take probably the tank away and go ahead and shoot the green on the ears, and then take them away, and we'll shoot the red on the tank. I wipe this down with soap and water, then abraded it with the gray 3M pad, and then cleaned it with wax and grease remover, and again with soap and water. And now I tack cloth it. So we should be good. Okay, we're mixing up the silver. And this is mixed at 1:1, 1 part paint to 1 part reducer. There's no catalyst in this. This is just base coat. You know, I think I've got more there than I need. I'm going to put a little bit back. Okay. Just a little more than I need. We'll only get 1 coat of this. Okay, let me get that mixed up and get it in the gun. I just throw the mixing cups and everything away. I just don't want to fool with them. But I save it until after it's shot and I think I'm done, then I throw it away. But if I need to mix more, I can still do it. Okay, we're on to the silver. Okay, one coat of silver. And this again is the green for the headlight ears, mixed at 1:1, 1 part paint, 1 part reducer. Not going to take very much. So again, we're at 1:1, 1 part color, 1 part reducer for the red. Okay, I just loaded up the 2K speed clear, and it mixes at 4 to 1, so 4 parts clear, 1 part hardener. So I've got that ready to go, and we've got just a few minutes to wait before I can go ahead and shoot that for the start of my window. Let me get you down there. Okay, there's our MX tank ready for the Yamaha decal in 3 or 4 weeks. We'll give a good time to solvent, and then we'll get those installed. And the headlight ears, these are actually off of 175. I can't believe I made that mistake, but I did. So Robert, there's the red tank you were talking about. Okay guys, just thought I'd show you the 125 MX with its new red gas tank, and the 175 right next to it. Both these projects are pretty close to finished. Just a few more, probably a couple more on each one. Okay guys, there you have it. About 3-4 days of painting, and I'm really tired of painting. But I think we've got everything done that we were behind on. So we'll be, you've got to wait about at least 2 weeks, maybe longer, to put the decal on the tank. The other stuff I can go ahead and probably start getting on, like the TS250 fender and side cover. Well, I've got a decal, I think, that goes on the side cover, but other than that, everything is just bolt on. And we can get that stuff put on. We can probably go ahead and get the tank on the MX after a couple days here. Just let it cure a little bit, and at least with it on there, it should be a little safer than hanging around the shop all the time. But I wanted to kind of go through. A lot of people ask me about the painting aspect of things, and like I said, I'm not a professional at it. And when I first started doing it too, it was a big deal to me. It was kind of scary, and you just didn't know, and you made a lot of mistakes. But the thing is you get in there and you try, and pretty soon you figure out, well, it's not that big a deal anyway. A lot of these, a lot of the painters and whatnot, they really, it's like black art or something, something that just nobody knows anything about. And all you got to do is get in there and try it. And you know, is it perfect? No, not at all. None of my stuff is. But I just, you know, the money aspect is a big thing to me. I just can't afford to put that kind of money into these restorations that I do. But I can afford to go buy some paint and a few other supplies and give it a whirl. And have I screwed up and had to redo it? You bet. You know, you just hunker down and go back, sand the thing down, start over. You know, it's just, you got to do it. And once you've done it a few times, then you know that things are probably going to be good. But like I said, with the green stuff, I was so sick I couldn't get it back into that 24-hour window, and it was 48 before I painted it. And with a little help from the good Lord upstairs, everything worked as it should, and we're pressing on with other projects. Anyhow, hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.